My name is Erin Cotman. I am your host of Next Level Coaching, where we talk about instructional coaching, school leadership, and education. Before we get started on today's episode, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share. If you're not already following me on Instagram, make sure you do so at Erin Cotman, And then our website is erincotman.com. You can check all of that out in today's show notes. So today we're really going to talk about managing the struggling teacher. It'd be great if we lived in a world, in a school, where all of our teachers were phenomenal. Now, while all teachers have the ability to be phenomenal, we don't just come out of college or step into the profession and knock it out the park, right? So as a coach or a school leader or anyone who coaches in your building, one of your jobs is going to be sometimes managing a struggling teacher. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about what does that look like, right? So the first thing you want to do is identify the source of the struggle, right? So is it a skill issue, a will issue, or maybe even like a knowledge gap, right? So when we think about a will issue, is the teacher just not willing to do whatever it is that you're asking them to do? Have they come into the profession and realized this actually isn't for me, right? Are they maybe, listen, I don't have the will to do elementary. If you know me, you know, right? I don't have the will to teach math, right? Maybe is there a will issue around how I'm showing up? And you've got to identify that, because will issues are going to require a different type of coaching than a skill issue. If it's a skill issue, right, now I have a different approach that I might take. So is the skill issue that I just don't know how to do the thing that you're asking me to do? I don't understand the steps to implementation. I hear what you're saying. I want to do what you're asking me to do it, but I just am really struggling with the skill, right? I want right, to be able to sing, but I'm going to need someone to show me how to do that. I'm going to need the coaching and someone to build up the skill for me to be able to do that. The knowledge gap or misconception piece is also a very real thing. I often find with teachers, especially if they're new to the profession, that they have this idea, this like schema, if you will, that's been formed by their own experience as a student, where they think this is how school functions, or this is how students should behave, or this is what math should look like, right? And they don't have the knowledge, right, of what school is like, right, or what education looks like, or maybe if you have a particular culture at your school, they don't have that knowledge. Maybe they're not up on latest data and readings, right? So if you think even about like science of reading is a really good example, right? I've watched schools who are trying to implement that. Their teachers have the will. Some of them have the skill and the knowledge gap, right? There's a lot of knowledge I need in order, when I'm thinking about early literacy, that is going to support the skill piece, right? So there may be a knowledge piece as well that's really important. So the first thing you want to do, again, is identify the source of the struggle. Identifying the source of the struggle allows you to know what path you're going to take in order to be able to fix the problem, right? The next thing you want to do is have a clear action plan. And that action plan needs to be clear for both you as the coach and the person and the coachee, the teacher. What is the plan of support for this teacher, this struggling teacher? What is the plan of support? And when I say a clear action plan, I mean like a 30-day like runway plan, right? So how often am I observing? Am I modeling? Am I teaching first period? You're watching second period. We're co-teaching second period, and third period, you're on your own, right? Like, am I attending your data meetings? Am I sitting down and lesson planning with you? What are the anchors as the coach that support the struggling teacher? I say all the time, a coach should be very heavily in the coaching plan. If I have a teacher who's struggling to the point they need a coaching plan, it should be a heavy lift for me as the coach. It's not all on the teacher. So what are the levers, right? And then I'm sharing that support plan with the teacher, and they're very clear on what their role is and what my role is, or whoever else is involved in that coaching. In that clear action plan, okay, this brings us to the next piece. We are monitoring data. So how do we know that the teacher is making the progress that we're asking for? It's data. Favorite word. data, okay? You've got to be able to monitor whether or not your coaching levers are working, right? So you've identified the struggle, you have a clear action plan, now you're monitoring progress. In that monitoring of progress, you are also celebrating the small wins. We are not coaching from deficit. We're still identifying strengths in that teacher, because even if you're a struggling teacher, you've got a strength, okay? What are the small wins? You've got to be, as the coach, know what you're looking for and communicate to them the small wins. When you're a struggling teacher and you're in the whirlwind of it all, it's hard for you to find those wins. And so your job as the coach is to highlight those small wins as well as those large data wins that you see as well. In that clear action plan, you're going to have noted what does success look like, so you know if you're on the path. I think the other thing with struggling teachers is remembering to lead with empathy. Coaching with empathy is really key, because as a struggling teacher, I'm still showing up every day. I'm still doing the really hard work. I am probably beating myself up every day. I need my coach to also have empathy for me while holding me accountable and supporting me. And as a coach, it's our job to be able to balance those three things, kind of juggle those three things, and know what our teachers need at every single moment of the way. That is a very, it requires a level of coaching that's intentional and is very aware, right? You should be able to look at that struggling teacher and know in that moment, what is it that they're probably going to need, while also asking, what is it that you need? So again, struggling teachers, it's a reality. It's going to happen, especially as we look at the pipeline of teachers coming our way, and the drought of those teachers. Being able to be a coach who can coach a struggling teacher is necessary, and it's an asset to your school or district. So while it may be a lot more work, right, it's a skill that you're going to have. So let's just recap really quickly. So you're going to identify the struggle, you're going to create a clear action plan, and then you're going to monitor progress along the way. I would love for you in the comments to just share your own stories, maybe your own personal story of being the struggling teacher and a coach who made an impact. Maybe you're a coach and you want to talk about some of the skills and strategies that you have implemented with a struggling teacher. Do so in the comments. Share this with coaches who need this reminder as well. Like, share, and please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and at erincottman.com. I will see you guys next time.